Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
2 deputies with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department got a break from their routine, everyday jobs as they left an out-of-town work assignment on orders to transport an inmate from New Mexico to a prison in Arizona. On the way back home, Jeremy Martin and Tai Chan stopped overnight at a plush resort hotel near the University of New Mexico. And that's where everything changed. By the end of a night fueled by drinking, authorities would respond to a commotion at the hotel. There was chaos and confusion, hotel guests panicking. Jeremy Martin lay in the lobby, shot 5 times in the back and the right arm. Las Cruces police didn't have time to wait for an ambulance. They rushed him to the hospital where 29-year-old Jeremy soon died from his injuries. Tai Chan, the other deputy who was with him that night, was charged with his murder. With cameras flashing, Santa Fe County Sheriff Robert Garcia blinked back tears during a press conference as local media outlets, including the Santa Fe New Mexican, began covering the story as the news of Jeremy's death broke in October 2014.
This has been a major shock to this agency and to my staff. Yeah. In my 34-year career, I would never think and hope that I would never receive that kind of phone call, but never thought that it would be true from within my own agency.
Jeremy had been a patrol deputy while Tai served on the sheriff's investigative unit. They weren't normally partners, but fate had placed them together for the prisoner transport because Tai's partner was sick. Tai Chan and Jeremy Martin seemed so similar on paper. They were both in their late 20s and had joined the force around the same time, roughly 3 years earlier. They were both family men. The accused man was expecting his first baby with his girlfriend. The deceased man was a father of 3, with his wife expecting their 4th. According to the sheriff, Tai and Jeremy were both hardworking.
Did the 2 officers have a good working relationship?
Yes, sir. Nothing that would ever indicate that anything like this would ever happen.
Would investigators be able to fully unravel the questions of what happened that night in 2014? How did the 2 deputies who seemed to get along end up in a fatal fight? The criminal case would drag on for nearly 6 years, eventually becoming one of the longest murder prosecutions in New Mexico's history, according to local media reports. Would there be a guilty verdict at the end? This is Jillian, and in partnership with the Law and Crime Trial Network, you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 143. The state of New Mexico's case against Tai Chan outlined the facts in the criminal complaint filed on October 28, 2014. At 12:30 a.m., the dispatch began fielding multiple calls. Gunshots fired from the 7th floor of Hotel Encanto. Another caller gave an update. The victim appeared in the hotel's lobby. Las Cruces police officers rushed to the scene. They found Jeremy Martin by the elevators of the hotel lobby, bleeding profusely from multiple gunshot wounds. As he was taken to the hospital, officers headed up to the source of the gunshots, the 7th floor. According to the complaint, Tai was on the landing to the hotel's roof above the 7th floor, which was locked. He told police he had a gun. He held up his hands and surrendered, obeying their instruction. On the landing where he had been standing was the weapon, a Glock semi-automatic handgun. Authorities checked room 7111, which Tai and Jeremy had been sharing. There were multiple bullet strikes on the walls and shell casings on the floor. Jeremy had left a trail of blood, red drops and stains, from inside the room to the elevators on the 7th floor, and then eventually to the lobby. Tai smelled of alcohol. He slurred his words as he tried to talk to the police. "I shot the guy," Tai said, according to the criminal complaint. The person he shot, Tai said, was his friend. Tai asked if somebody could check on his girlfriend. He also worried about his missing iPhone. There were witnesses who observed some interactions that night between Jeremy and Tai, although nobody had seen the entire situation unfold. Detective Sanchez spoke with Tai's longtime friend, Josh Sexauer, who got a call around 8 p.m. from Tai, who said he was going to be in town that night and invited him to go out and get beers. When Josh picked up Tai and Jeremy from the hotel, he could tell the two officers had already been drinking. They stopped at Dublin's street pub near the college campus. The drinks were still flowing as Josh found himself in an embarrassing scene. Jeremy and Tai had gotten into an argument in public, angrily pointing fingers at each other. According to the criminal complaint, Josh stated that he had never seen Tai become hostile like that before, and that the bartender had to separate them at one point. As to what led to the angry words, that might never be known. The criminal complaint didn't provide details. With tension in the air, the night was over, at least for Josh. He decided to leave the bar. Tai said they would catch a cab back to the hotel. Just after midnight, Josh's phone rang. It was Tai's girlfriend, Leah. Leah reported something disturbing. She told Josh she had been on the phone with Tai when she heard someone yell, "Please don't, please don't," and then the sound of gunshots rang out. Leah was worried. She asked if Josh would check on Tai. Josh began driving to the hotel to make sure his longtime friend was okay. On the way, he listened on his cell phone app that monitors police radio dispatches. A gunshot victim had been taken to the Mountain View Regional Medical Center. Josh's gut instinct was that it was his friend Tai who was hurt. But he was wrong. Instead, Tai was on the other side of the gun, and he would be charged with murder. His legal team began preparing his defense, planning to argue Tai shot Jeremy in self-defense. Almost 2 years later, Josh and Leah would take the stand at Tai's trial to recount the rest of their memories from that night. Josh Sexauer was an assistant professor who taught computer programming classes at New Mexico State University. He had known Tai since they were 8 years old. They had grown up in Santa Fe together and later went to college together. They became fraternity brothers and college roommates. Their friendship had an unusual twist, though. Josh later married Tai's ex-wife, Susanna, but that didn't appear to cause any problems between the two men, since Tai called Josh out of the blue to say he was going to be in town and invited him to hang out. Josh had invited another friend, Ian, to tag along too that night. Ian planned to be the sober driver. On the stand, Josh described what happened when he and Ian picked up Tai and Jeremy that night. Warning, there is a derogatory term used here.
Do you recall anything unusual or anything that struck you as out of the ordinary when Tai and Josh got into the car? I mean, Tai and Jeremy got into the car.
Can you be more specific?
Well, did Jeremy say anything to Tai when they got into the car?
Yes, he was a little louder, and I do remember him saying something pretty quickly about, I just told this I just told this lady that Tai was a fag, kind of something like that.
Okay. And did it appear to be serious, or did it appear to be joking?
It definitely seemed to be a joke to me.
Was it off-putting to you at all?
Well, I didn't think it was that funny, but yeah, it didn't offend me that much, I guess. But
Did when the two of them got into the car, other than that what you described as that joke or that comment, did they appear to be angry with each other?
No, definitely not.
Okay. And what was the mood in the car when you were driving to the bar?
Normal, happy, I don't know.
Okay. Did either one of them appear to have consumed alcohol prior to getting in the car?
I believe they had, yes.
Okay. Were they coherent?
Yes.
What makes you think they'd been drinking?
Again, they were pretty loud, and they had told me pretty quickly after they got in the car that they had had a few drinks at some places.
The night at Dublin started off with 2 rounds of Fireball cinnamon whiskey shots. Ty's cousin, Nicole, later joined them. The group was having fun, at least for that first hour or so. And then, according to Josh, the night started to feel different.
At any point in time during the course of the evening, did the mood change?
Yes.
Please describe for the jury what you recall about the mood in the bar between your group changing.
But everything was pretty friendly and light, and then all of a sudden, I don't really recall a reason, but I saw that Jeremy Martin was upset.
He didn't recall why Jeremy was upset, but he did remember feeling annoyed that Tai and Jeremy were acting obnoxious and arguing with each other.
Did the mood stay dark, or did it ever change over time?
Well, I didn't hang out with that group a whole lot, throughout the night. There was other people at the bar that I was hanging out with, probably more than them. Okay. So I would say, I wouldn't say that it was dark at any point either. I don't think that that's the word I would use. Okay. Jeremy was a little upset, but I don't think it was a dark mood. I would say that for a while anyways, there was some agitation. Yeah, so again, the first thing I noticed was Tai was at the bar, and he asked Jeremy, "Hey bro, do you want a drink?" And Jeremy said, "Water, I just want water." And I was like, what happened?
Do you ever remember during when Tai and Jeremy were kind of arguing, do you ever remember an exchange where Tai asked, "Are we cool?"
Yes.
Okay, explain to the jury how that conversation came about and with the exchange between Mr. Martin and Mr. Chan.
I don't know how it came about. Again, I wasn't really hanging around them, but I do recall seeing it happen, and it was Tai Chan saying, basically, "Hey man, are we cool? Are we cool?" Trying to really, in my opinion, try to calm things down, squash whatever was going on, and Jeremy's saying, "I think I'm pretty cool." Obviously still agitated about something, saying, I'm pretty cool. I don't know about you. I'm pretty cool. Okay. Something in that manner.
And did it escalate farther than that? Or
That's all that I don't believe it escalated any further than that.
Under cross, Josh said he had heard similar arguments like this millions of times before. This wasn't anything unique. The 2 men had raised their voices, but they didn't get physical with each other. No pushing or shoving.
Could you hear what exactly was being said?
Not exactly.
Could you hear any of it?
I thought I remember hearing Tai say something like, I'm a good person.
Okay. Did you hear any response from Jeremy?
No.
Now, during the course of the evening, even though you saw them arguing, would they then appear to be friendly and okay with each other?
Yes.
And how were you able to tell that?
They had calmed down and they weren't arguing anymore.
Dublin's bartender, Ernest Venegas, testified about what he saw that night. In his testimony, he remembered something slightly more intense. He said he intervened to stop Tai and Jeremy from arguing, according to the Santa Fe New Mexican. "I just kind of kept eyes on them for a second," Venegas testified. "And then, as it proceeded to get a little worse, I went over to let them know that we couldn't have this in the establishment and we would have to ask them to leave." Venegas remembered Jeremy as looking relaxed and acting as the negotiator. The look on Ty's face when he left Dublin's left an impression on him. He said it looked like a death look or a death stare. On cross, the newspaper reported that Ty's defense pointed out that Venegas didn't tell the police anything about a death look during his interviews. Another employee at Dublin's gave a different version of events. Ty looked like he was emotional, and Jeremy was consoling him, patting him on the back. Hotel guests testified about the sounds they heard that night. The two men angrily yelling at each other, the ringing of the gunfire, and then law enforcement banging on the doors. State Crime Lab forensic scientist Raman Sandhu Kurmer also took the stand to testify about the physical evidence, which would provide a few twists and moments of confusion during the trial. The forensic scientist found Ty as a major source of touch DNA on the murder weapon, but she couldn't rule out Jeremy as a possible contributor either. There were at least 2 DNA sources swabbed on the handgun.
So in your opinion, if someone were to make a statement that Mr. Martin's DNA was on that gun, period, definitely, would that be accurate?
Jeremy Martin cannot be eliminated as a possible contributor.
The unexpected surprise to the state's case came under cross-examination, as the defense asked her seemingly routine questions about the evidence, in particular about a photograph of the bedding taken from the hotel room after the shooting. The photo exhibit included a blanket with a large blood stain, a sheet, and a pillowcase. Prosecutors assumed everything had been tested, but only the sheet with a few drops of blood had ever been sent to the crime lab.
Let me show you what's been marked as defendant's 34. In defendant's 34, you can see the pillows, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you can see the sheet turned down?
Yes.
Okay, and then you can see the marker H right there?
Yes, sir.
And you can see the blood droplets, right?
Sure, red-brown staining, yes.
Okay, does that look like a bed sheet?
That looks like a bed sheet,
okay,
but it's not the one I got.
You have the bed sheet that you received?
Not right now.
Is it still in evidence?
No.
This bed sheet that you received is not the one the bed sheet that we're depicting in H from the hotel bedroom is not the bed sheet you tested?
Not according to my notes.
Judge, may we approach real quick? Yes.
The court immediately took a recess, and both sides approached the judge to speak confidentially. Afterwards, the forensic scientist was back on the stand.
Now, just to clear up any confusion, you received both the sheet that you tested and also a white blanket, and it was all marked Exhibit H, correct?
I did not receive a blanket.
You did not. The blanket was never delivered to you for testing?
No, sir.
The defense went over the correspondence between the scientist and the police department to piece together how such a mistake could be made.
You were never asked at any point in time during this investigation to conduct any DNA testing on this on the blanket, the white blanket, correct?
That's right.
Even though you issued a report on February 2nd, and it was transmitted to the Las Cruces Police Department on February 4th, and they knew of Tai Chan's DNA on the bed. Nobody ever issued a request, anything at all, to test the larger blanket. Is that right?
It was never submitted for testing. That's right.
The last witness for the prosecution was Ty's partner, Leah. Leah said at the time she and Ty were a live-in couple who had been together about a year and a half and were expecting a baby together. She was still in her first trimester, but Ty was thrilled to be a dad. 6 months before his trial began, they got married. Leah Tafoya Chan recounted what she heard on the phone that night, wiping away tears as she answered the prosecutor's questions. Leah, who works as a probation and parole officer, was petite and almost hidden from the monitor, her face barely visible as she testified. It was around midnight, and she was having problems sleeping when Ty called her. Immediately, she said she was terrified, Something was wrong. Tai was rambling incoherently, and what he said wasn't rational. Leah became frantic. She even thought about packing a bag and rushing the 4 hours to Las Cruces to bring her boyfriend back.
And I was already getting ready for bed, and he was rambling and somewhat incoherent. And he kept on saying the craziest things. So I was yelling at him, and I was asking him what was going on and trying to get his attention and trying to make him pay attention to me. Do you want me to?
I want you to say exactly what you recall about the phone call.
He told me that they had left him, and I said, who left you? What's going on? And then he told me they're framing me for murder. And I said, what are you talking about? What's going on? And he said, you don't understand. And it was about somewhere close to midnight that I received that call. So at that point I was frantic, and I was screaming at him, and I was saying, what's happening? What's going on? These aren't things that you hear regularly. And I told him that I was going to call Susanna, and I was going to call Gabe.
Okay. Now, who's Susanna?
Susanna's his ex-wife, and she's married to his best friend, and she also lives in Las Cruces.
Okay. The best friend being Josh Sexauer?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Josh Sexauer.
And who's Gabe?
Gabe is his boss, or was his boss at the sheriff's department.
Okay. So you told him you were going to call them, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did the telephone conversation continue on for any period of time after that?
It did. I was still yelling at him, and I was asking him, what's happening? I told him I was going to go to Las Cruces. I asked him if I needed to go to Las Cruces. I told him I was going to get him a room, and that I was going to be there to see what was going on because he was scaring me so much.
She said the phone disconnected, and she was terrified. She tried calling him back. It took a few times, but he finally answered.
And he answered it, and all he said was, hold on. And then I heard shuffling.
Okay. Can you please describe approximately what time that phone call was? If you remember.
It was after the first phone call ended, and it didn't last very long.
After the shuffling noises, the phone disconnected again. She kept trying to call him back, over and over. Stalker calling him, she said.
Scared, I was frantic. I was not sure if I should pack a bag, what I should do at that point. So he finally answered after I called him a few times. I felt like I called maybe 25. I think it turned out to be maybe 3 or so.
Okay. And did he answer the phone?
He did.
At times, Leah took long pauses and had to drink water to compose herself as she testified.
During that phone conversation, and that was a long conversation, I had my line open. He answered the phone, and so the line was open at that point in time. I still heard shuffling, and then I heard him talking and another unidentified male talking. And the unidentified, should I keep going?
Did you hear the words that were said?
I did. The words I heard were, nobody's going to jail. We're not getting arrested.
Could you tell if that was Tai Chan's voice?
That was not Tai's voice.
Okay. Then what did you hear after that?
At that point in time, I'm screaming into the phone and I'm saying, what's going on? What's happening? I'm sure I used a lot more cuss words than what I'm saying right now. And I kept trying to get his attention. And then I heard an echo or something of the like. And I heard banging on the door.
She said she didn't know where he was at or exactly what the noises she was hearing were.
During that time, I was yelling into the phone. I was being crazy and just yelling and trying to get him to pay attention to me. And he just said, baby, calm down. And I heard the pounding on the door soon after. And am I allowed to say cuss words?
Please.
And then I heard, open the door, open the fucking door. You're not going anywhere. Open the fucking door. So at this point, I'm still yelling into the phone. I'm saying, what's going on? Tai, what's happening? What's happening? What's going on? And then at that point, and then I didn't hear the echo. The echo disappeared.
Okay.
After that, should I keep going?
Please continue.
After that, I didn't hear an echo. And then I heard, I love you, man. I love you, bro. Or something to that effect.
Could you tell whose voice that was?
It was Tai in the unidentified male.
I'm sorry, Tai and an
Unidentified male. They were saying that to each other.
And after you heard the two individuals, Tai Chan and the other person, say, I love you, bro, what's the next thing you heard?
Well, I'm still yelling at that point, and I'm still trying to get his attention because the line is open, but he's not actually talking to me on the phone. But I hear an echo again, and I'm saying, what's going on? What's happening? And he puts the phone back up to him, and he says, he punched me in the face, and he kicked me in the balls. And I said, why? Why would he punch you in the face and kick you in the balls?
She said she was trying to talk to him, but he wasn't paying attention to her. Then she heard pounding on the door again.
And what was being said?
Open the door. Open the fucking door. You're not going anywhere.
Okay. What did you hear next?
After that, the echo was gone. And in my head, the way I pictured it is the door had opened because the echo was gone. And then immediately I heard scuffling or something. I think I first described it as fisticuffs or a fight or something.
Okay. Describe exactly what you heard. You said scuffling. What was it you heard? If you could tell. If not, please.
Well, I heard some sort of scuffling or something. I can't exactly tell you what it was. And then I heard Tai say, sit down, sit down.
Okay. In what tone of voice did he say that?
I think the way that I originally described it was as strong verbal commands, the way that I was taught to talk to a non-compliant offender.
Okay. After hearing those words, what's the next thing you heard?
And then I heard a big pound sound.
Okay. Could you tell what that was?
I couldn't. That's how it's just a big pound. A big pound. I described it in my statement, I believe it's something being hit against a wall.
Okay. And after that, what did you hear?
And after that, I heard what I thought was Tai saying, please no, please no. And then I heard 2 shots.
She admitted she wasn't sure if it was Tai saying please no because it was muffled, but that she thought it was.
Mr. Foya Chan, after you heard the voice, please no, did you hear anything further?
I did. I heard 2 shots. And I'm screaming incoherently into the phone. At that point, I got my other phone and I started calling people, but I had the line open. And then I thought maybe a fire alarm. And then soon after I heard dogs barking. So I assumed that it was the police that had gotten there.
She could then hear police officers identifying themselves. One officer uttered a profanity, which left a vivid memory because Leah wasn't sure if she was supposed to hear that. It was almost as if she were eavesdropping. Under cross-examination, Leah testified that before those terrible phone calls, the day had been normal. Leah and Tai had texted each other cute, romantic messages about how much they loved each other. But that, of course, now seemed like a lifetime ago. Before Tai had shot and killed someone. Before he was charged with murder. Before she would find herself testifying at her husband's murder trial. When it was the defense's turn to present their case, they called the only person in the hotel room who was with Jeremy that night, the very man now fighting for his freedom. Tai Chan took the stand for more than 3 hours, the last person to testify before the end of the trial. Tai, wearing a suit, a pale blue tie, and glasses, spoke calmly during his testimony. Tai and Jeremy had taken Jaeger bomb shots and drank Red Bull cocktails before Josh arrived to pick them up. They were pretty buzzed, Tai said. That night at Dublin's, what he and Jeremy had been arguing about was a double homicide that Jeremy, the deputy patrol, had responded to after 2 kids were shot in the front seat. But Jeremy's reaction to it was callous, according to Tai. Jeremy said, "Those kids deserved to die. They were criminals," Tai testified. Tai said he tried to defuse the situation with what he thought was a joke. "You killed them," Tai said to Jeremy, who had been one of the first responders to the scene. "You couldn't save them." "What did you say to me?" he said Jeremy demanded. Jeremy then got so angry he left the bar. When he returned, Tai said he asked him, "Are we cool?" The night was winding down. Josh and Ian had already left. Tai's cousin Nicole offered to drop them off at their hotel. Back at the hotel room where the 2 men had left their employee weapons, Jeremy was still upset about their discussion over the double homicide. "I was confused," Tai said. He was drunk and bewildered why Jeremy was still arguing with him over what was intended to be something funny. Then he started saying he was going to frame me for murder. He started pushing, Tai said. "It was so weird, I didn't know what was going on." He said Jeremy then tried to kick him in the groin. He was being angry, and then he went into the bathroom, Tai said. The situation felt so bizarre and out of control. Tai said he left the hotel, which is when he called Leah as he stood outside a shopping complex and restaurant. "Why didn't he call 911?" his attorney asked. Tai said he didn't want to get a coworker in trouble.
And did you really think that Jeremy was going to try to frame you for murder, or did that make any sense to you at all?
It didn't make sense. I mean, someone to say that to, and it didn't make sense. It was just so bizarre.
He said Jeremy then came out to bring Tai back inside. Meanwhile, Leah was frantically calling Tai back. He said the situation then escalated back in the hotel room. Tai testified he locked himself in the bathroom. Jeremy banged on the bathroom door, demanding for him to open the fucking door. Tai said his police training kicked in. He ordered a command, sit down, to defuse the situation. Here's him explaining what happened in court. The courtroom is a little echoey, so I'll recap what he's saying after.
You yelled to Mr. Martin, sit down, right?
Yeah, sit down.
What happens next?
So he was walking back to the desk in the chair, and it was like a casual walk. So I thought he was just going to sit down, and he turned around, and he had a gun in his hand.
What happened next?
So he had a gun in his hand with his left hand, and he looked at me with this blank stare, like he was looking straight through me. I'll never forget that look he gave me, and he just said, "I'm going to shoot you." Like just nonchalant, a monotone voice, like, "I'm going to shoot you."
According to Tai's testimony, he said Jeremy walked back to the desk and chair, but instead of sitting down, Jeremy turned around and had a gun in his left hand. Tai said Jeremy then looked at him with a blank stare and said, "I'm going to shoot you," in a monotone voice. Tai testified that he was frozen, fearing his life was over. Jeremy then started hitting him in the face, the gun still in his hand. The gun went off. After a struggle, Tai said he then grabbed the gun.
Were you able to take the gun away from Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I got the gun. I got it out of his hand. I went down, had the gun, and I turned around and I just started shooting.
Did Do you remember how many shots you fired?
I don't remember. I remember I shot the gun, and then I knew he could have another gun, so I ran out, and I knew that because I saw him run out, and I shot, and I knew that he ran out, and he could still have a gun and turn around and come back and shoot me. So I ran out the door and just started shooting, and I remember him running away, and then saying, "Okay, he's gone. I can stop shooting." So I stopped shooting, and I remember saying 911, and I was running down the hallway. And I was banging on the door, saying, "Help me."
Hold on. Would you like a glass of water? Stop for a second.
Tai said he got control of the gun and started shooting. He couldn't recall how many shots he fired, at least one, as Jeremy ran out of the hotel room. Tai then followed him into the hallway, shooting as Jeremy disappeared. Prosecutors said he fired a total of 10 rounds. Jeremy fled, making it to the elevators, and then collapsed, lying in a pool of his own blood. Evidence showed beyond Jeremy's obvious gun wounds, there had been a physical altercation between the two men. Jeremy's right knuckles were cut. Tai had a bloody nose. After Tai stopped shooting, he began yelling to call 911. He was out in the hallway, but he didn't feel safe. His mind was alive with what threats could still exist. He thought Jeremy would try to kill him. Tai went up to the stairwell but came across a locked door. He knew, for the first time, he said, that he hadn't been shot as he checked for bullet wounds on his body. He was shaking, the realization that he was holding his own handgun. He was used to stress from his sheriff's department job, but this night was different, more fearful than anything he felt before. When he was arrested, Tai was barefoot. He smelled of alcohol. His blood alcohol content was around 0.24, 3 times the legal limit to drive, according to court testimony. The jury listened to Tai's frantic, incoherent words captured in a police recording. Tai bizarrely insisted there was a bomb in the hotel. "Everybody out," he kept shouting.
Listen, please, I'm a cop. Please, listen to me. How do you know there's a bomb inside that building? Inside that building, and I love you. Don't jeopardize your families.
What room is it in? What room is it in?
It's in, if I don't get everybody out of there. Get everybody out. Get everybody out. Please. Get everybody out. Bro, I swear to God. Get everybody.
Outside of B773 and 843 unit.
Sir, get everybody out of that building. Everybody out of that building. Everybody out.
Suspect we detained is advising there's explosives in one of the rooms. Will not verify on which room it is.
Tai tried to rationalize his frame of thinking in those early morning hours for the jury. He said he thought the threat still existed of Jeremy Martin lurking in the hotel. He said he would say anything to warn the police officers, to get the hotel guests out and away from danger.
You've heard the recording from the time you were taken into custody until the time that you're questioned by the police, right?
Right.
You say some pretty crazy things.
Yeah.
What were you feeling immediately upon, what were you feeling when you were walking through the hotel lobby?
When I was walking through the lobby, it just seemed like everybody was so just walking. They weren't taking precautions that I thought they needed to with the danger that was up there. So I was just conveying to all the cops, be careful, don't go in there, be careful.
And did people seem to be responding?
No, they just kept walking past me or just shrugging me off. I couldn't get my point across that it was very dangerous in there.
And you said that there was a bomb in the hotel. In retrospect, there was no bomb in the hotel, was there?
There was no bomb. I said that because no one was conveying the level of danger that I just faced, and nobody was taking me seriously. So I was saying, get everybody out of the hotel room. And I was saying, there's a bomb. And I was like, who cares if there's a bomb? I just said there was a bomb. Get everybody out. I didn't want anybody to die. Nobody needed to get hurt. And I didn't know if I hit Jeremy. I didn't know what was going on. I thought he was still out there going to kill people. Or a cop. No, so I was saying, I'm scared for you, I'm scared for your family, I'm scared for everybody up there.
And when you were telling those police officers that you were scared for them, was that genuine?
Yeah.
In those chaotic moments after he was taken into custody, Tai said he didn't know his colleague was dead. He learned that Jeremy had died 6 hours later when a detective finally told him. Soon after he was arraigned for murder, Tai resigned from his job at the sheriff's department. The department rules stated that if Tai failed to show up to work or to call his supervisor for 2 days, he was automatically considered to have abandoned his job.
Tai, when you and Jeremy Martin returned to the hotel from drinking, did you have a plan to kill him?
No, not at all.
Did you have any motivation to murder Jeremy Martin?
No.
What was your motivation for pulling the trigger and firing at Jeremy Martin?
He was going to kill me. I had to defend myself.
Tai said he had no plan to kill Jeremy, and that in fact, he had told the police officers in the car after he was detained that he had acted in self-defense. Under cross, Tai acknowledged that Jeremy wasn't alive to refute his account he had just given under oath.
Now, you said that once you got in the room, that Jeremy is telling you that he's framing you for homicide.
Yeah, he said I'm from here.
Right. Now, at the time that this statement is made, you had been a certified peace officer for how long?
For 3 years, I would say.
About 3 years. And you're not a stupid man.
I wouldn't think so.
Right. And that statement makes no sense, does it?
It makes no sense. No.
And he's not here to refute it, is he?
No, he isn't.
Okay, so we don't really know if that's what he said or not, do we?
Tai agreed that the statement he said Jeremy said to him about framing him for murder didn't make any sense. In addition to that, the prosecutor asked if Jeremy threatened to frame Tai for his murder, then why was Jeremy pointing a gun at Tai? The conversation seemed odd. Again, none of it added up, the prosecutor said, and Tai agreed that night wasn't logical. He just could not explain it. The prosecutor pointed out that Tai had fired on an unarmed man who was running away, and the hotel door shut behind Jeremy, automatically locking from the outside. Tai would have been safe if he had only stayed in the room, but instead, Tai went into the hallway, quote, looking for his prey, and started shooting. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence that Tai had fired 10 total rounds that night, hitting Jeremy 5 times.
So Jeremy Martin is moving away from the gunfire, and he's unarmed. And we know that he's unarmed because you do not describe from this witness stand that you see him with a firearm, do you?
But he could have had one.
Answer my question. You do not see him with a firearm, do you?
I did not at the time.
That's right. Yet you still continue to fire. He's not a threat. He's moving away from you. Talk about that on the use of force model.
Jeremy's attorney objected, and the prosecutor moved on.
You're a trained officer, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And whenever the threat is over, you're supposed to stop, aren't you?
Yes.
And whenever the threat departs, you hold your ground, don't you? You hold your ground and wait for backup, don't you?
I was trained to just stop the threat.
Yeah, you stop the threat. The threat is gone. There is no more threat, is there? The door is closing on its own. He doesn't have a key card. He is no threat to you, is he?
I really just some threat.
Then you can tell the jury today that your belief at that time was just totally wrong, can't you?
No.
Of course you can, because it makes no sense.
On June 6, 2016, the closing arguments in the 2-week trial began. Deputy District Attorney Gerald Byers did not dispute that a fight broke out between the two men.
There was a dispute between Jeremy Martin and Tai Chan.
We'll concede there are some contusions to the knuckles on Jeremy Martin's right hand. There's a picture of Tai Chan with a bloody nose, but it's the state's position that the amount of force that may have caused a bloody nose does not rise to the level of allowing Defendant Chan to murder somebody by shooting him in the back 5 times, shooting at him a total of 10 times.
Byers insisted this wasn't a case of self-defense. Tai shot 10 times at a man who ran out of the hotel room without a weapon in his hand. This is first-degree murder, plain and simple, he told the jury. Byers also tried to downplay the problems with the investigation, starting with the forensic scientist not testing all the items. The blood from the sheets that hadn't been tested in the nearly 2 years leading up to the trial? Hubbub, he called it. And then he conceded that it was Tai's blood.
We believe that the defendant, after he was punched in the nose, he said he was punched in the nose, fine. He's got a bloody nose, fine. He stood over the edge of the bed and let the blood drip out of his nose. Now, why do we say that? Let's take a look at the photograph that has become all too popular in this particular case. Now, what you're seeing on your monitors is one of the state's exhibits that shows this area where the blood drops are on this comforter. And if you take a look at the area where the blood drops are on the comforter, the bed is located next to the wall with dividing the sleeping quarters from the bathroom. It's the state's position that that's where the defendant just stopped and hung his head and let his nose drop blood. Now, there was a lot of hubbub about, well, my goodness, was that ever tested? Well, turns out it hadn't been before the trial. So, instead of hiding anything or feeding into any idea that somebody is being railroaded, what did the state do? We sent it up to the lab. We got it tested. When we sent it up to the lab, did we have any idea whose blood was on there? Nope, not at all. Could have been Jeremy Martin's blood. If it came back that way, what would happen to our case? No, we're looking for the truth. We sent it up, we got it tested. It comes back, whose blood is it? Defendant's blood. He's dripping blood out of his nose. His conduct that evening was that of an intoxicated little frat boy.
A black, powdery substance that the defense believed could have been gunpowder was found on Jeremy's palm, but it too was never tested. Byers insisted the laws of physics made it impossible for the substance to be gunpowder.
Now, the defense theory, let's contrast that. Oh, they're saying that there's black powdery substance on Jeremy's left palm. Okay. What is the possibility of any powder getting on Mr. Martin's left hand? If he deflected the weapon with it. Now, the other part is this. There was no test for any gunshot residue concerning Jeremy Martin's hand. The doctor didn't attest that it was definitively gunpowder. That's left in your province to determine. But I submit to you that the laws of physics cannot be denied. They might want to might want to get you to believe that water is no longer wet, but believe me, it is. Their story does not hold water.
After the prosecution's closing arguments, it was the defense's turn. Tai's defense attorney, John Day, went on the attack, criticizing what he said was a shoddy investigation against his client.
And the problem is when the state of New Mexico brings a case, a criminal case, and that case is full of holes and mistakes and errors and things that should have been done and things that should have been tested. And I wish we could have done that, and we should have done that. And we had to do this 2 days into the trial. We had to do this 4 days into the trial. And we didn't do it. What that is like, it's like you knock a hole, you take a brick out of that wall, and you take 6 bricks out of that wall, and you take 25 bricks out of the wall, and it weakens the wall. And so what we have is this Constitution that protects us from the excesses of the government and the mistakes of the government. But if we let them knock holes in the wall through their faulty investigations and the incomplete investigations and the mistakes and the errors and the things they didn't do and the things we wish they had done, if we let them knock those holes in the wall is weak and it crumbles, and it could be our neighbors next time who are sitting in that chair charged with crimes because they defended themselves.
He said the police rushed to judgment and that it's evident that mistakes were made.
And that became evident in this case when the state was forced to go send that important piece of evidence, which was the comforter, that white comforter that we've seen the pictures of. We were on the 7th or 8th day of trial, and they decided to send that to get tested. That's when they decided to send it to get tested. Not in the preceding 18 months when we've been working on this, when things have gone back and forth to the lab. Suddenly it's important to get this tested. And it comes back, and yes, it's nothing but Tai Chan's blood. What is this telling you about the nature of this investigation and things that weren't done? What did they also not do? Well, they told you this. They didn't test hands. They didn't look for fingernail. They didn't go under Jeremy Martin's fingernails to look for DNA of Tai Chan. They didn't swab the hands. State made a lot of effort to try to say, well, we don't swab hands. That's not something we do. Well, Ms. Paulus told you they could do it. And wouldn't that answer some questions to you about whether Jeremy Martin had fired the gun? I mean, what you have is the black gunpowdery substance on his palm, but they didn't test that either.
He said, in addition to that, no trajectory analysis was done.
Well, what is the value of that missing information? Tai Chan told you on the witness stand that Jeremy Martin shot first. Wouldn't you want to know, do the hand swabs show that Jeremy fired a handgun? An important question that they didn't answer because they didn't test it. So you have Ty's testimony that Jeremy Martin fired that shot and he thought his life was in danger. But it's uncontroverted testimony because they can't challenge it.
The defense also emphasized that Tai could have sat back and not testified at his trial, his very right to do so under the Constitution.
But he chose to take the stand and sit in this box and face you and look in your eyes and tell you what happened. And you got to see him, and you got to look him in the face, and you got to hear the words that he told you. He did not have to do that, but you needed to hear from him what happened. You needed to hear from him that he felt that his life was in danger, and you needed to hear from him exactly why he did what he did that night.
His client, very drunk with his police training kicking in, had shot Jeremy in self-defense, he insisted. As he spoke, Tai sat straight, unmoving, his hands folded on the table. Soon, the jury began deliberating, and deliberating, and deliberating. No one could have expected what was about to come. The jury announced that they could not reach a unanimous decision. They were deadlocked. State District Judge Fernando Macias officially ruled it as a mistrial. The Santa Fe New Mexican described the emotional scene in court as Jeremy's family wept and hugged each other. The district attorney's office vowed to retry the case. As for Tai, he told reporters while bracing for a second trial, quote, "I fought in self-defense, in the fight for my life, but now I'm fighting for my freedom." Tai returned to the courtroom in 2017 for a second trial. Again, a mistrial due to a deadlocked jury. prosecutors wanted to pursue a voluntary manslaughter charge against Tai. But by 2020, nearly 6 years after Jeremy Martin's death, it was over. A judge dismissed the charges in July 2020. Tai's attorneys argued in a 2017 court filing that Tai's right to a speedy trial had been violated. His team also alleged prosecutorial misconduct over numerous allegations, including the blanket that hadn't been tested during the first trial. The district attorney's spokeswoman told the Santa Fe New Mexican, quote, "It was not expected, and honestly, everybody involved in the case was very disappointed that the vindication for Jeremy Martin did not happen." As for Tai, his attorney told the newspaper that his client is grateful that it's over. And that's all for this episode. As always, I'd love to know what you think about this case. How would you have voted if you were on the jury? What do you think about the charges being dismissed? Let me know by joining the conversation on Instagram @CourtJunkie, by tweeting me @CourtJunkiePod, or by emailing me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. Today's case was researched and written by Gabrielle Russon. And lastly, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to see behind-the-scenes videos and the videos of my after show that will be debuting right here on this feed and on YouTube this week. That's at youtube.com/courtjunkie. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.